So, did your childhood die? Good. I know R-Truth certainly did. But Backlash is now done and everybody has an opinion out there, whether it's good, bad, or somewhere in the middle. We love to voice our opinions when it comes to pro wrestling. And I want to be able to provide you a platform, so we have now changed hot takes into pros and cons, because I want to know your pros, your cons, what you liked, what you didn't like about the show. It doesn't always have to be negative. It doesn't always have to be positive. We're wrestling fans. We like things, we dislike certain things. But the important part is that we are able to have a calm, rational discussion about it and not act like spoiled brats. So this will allow us to gauge an overall response if a show was good or bad. If people are overreacting, well, then it'll tell in the pros and cons, because there will be a lot more pros than cons. But if people seriously hated something, the pros are going to be way down and the cons are going to be way up. So make sure you keep an eye out for this tweet right here. As you can see, I will ask every single week after a PLE, Raw, SmackDown to submit any thoughts, opinions, or hot takes you may have on the show. Phil says, I truly believe the show from top to bottom was great. All the correct decisions were made tonight. We didn't get Cody Rhodes, and I'm fine with that. But R-Truth being the reason why John Cena retains the title, it's deja vu all over again from WrestleMania. I think we have a pro in here, but I'm also not certain if we have a con. The ending right there with the whole deja vu all over from WrestleMania, that might be a con right there, because I don't know if this is him saying that he actually likes it. But let's roll with a pro. Yeah, honestly though, Backlash was a great show for what it was. It was filler. I don't think anybody is going to deny that, but it was fun filler. And the thing about these WWE B-level shows is that they don't always have to be top tier. They don't always have to be the most memorable. It's something that you can sit down and enjoy for a few hours. And honestly, that's exactly what I got on Saturday night. It was an enjoyable few hours to sit and watch some pro wrestling. There wasn't really anything that stood out that makes me think we're going to talk about this show, you know, in like 6 months' time. But at the end of the day, I think the show really did deliver for a standalone show. Like, did we get any major title changes? No. Was there really any major storyline developments outside of Jeff Cobb and R-Truth? Not really, but hey, it was still a fun wrestling show, and that's exactly what I want from a show on just a random ass night. It's not WrestleMania, it's not the Royal Rumble, it's not SummerSlam, it's not Survivor Series, it's not Money in the Bank. I can live with these shows that just kind of get us to the next part of the story, whatever that may be. But the one con that Phil seems to have here is R-Truth at the very end with Randy Orton and John Cena. And I understand why this could be considered a con. Like, sure, there's a lot of history with R-Truth and John Cena, and the running joke of R-Truth's childhood hero being John Cena is certainly something funny, but we're talking about John Cena's final run in WWE. I get why people maybe don't want R-Truth to be a focal point of, like, what, does John have 25 dates left or 24 dates left or however many days he's got left? If 2 or 3 of those go into a feud with R-Truth, like, is that the best use of John? I don't really know, and I understand why people aren't thrilled to see R-Truth involved in this. If it was for a one-off moment to have R-Truth get AA'd through the table in the press conference, then all right, fine, you know, then you're just adding some heat to John Cena. But if we're building up to a full-on match between R-Truth and John Cena, it's good for R-Truth, right? We all love Truth, but you know, so I get why this could be viewed as a con. But hey, I'm willing to wait and see, as should everybody else. R-Truth is hilarious, and maybe R-Truth is going to be the catalyst for John Cena realizing that he was wrong, that everything he has done, everything he has said, you know, he's not right. Even though us fans have been horrible to him, maybe he's just starting to see, hey, not every fan deserves to be treated this way. You know, not every fan deserves to be broken up with. The assholes? Absolutely. But there are some fans who absolutely care and love for John Cena. And those fans have not left his side even throughout all of this. R-Truth might get that inner child awoken in John Cena once again. Or he's just gonna become a evil man and just destroy R-Truth again. When the crowd chanted "Thank you, Cena" as he was leaving the ring, Cena had a look of regret. He might be regretting everything that he did to get to this point to win 17. I think he's slowly going to have his Anakin Skywalker moment of, what have I done? Sooner than later. The amount of Star Wars references in wrestling right now are insane. Either they are just very coincidental, or Triple H is a big Star Wars fan and has been booking like it's his own Star Wars film. But yes, this John Cena redemption arc, man, this could very well be the direction for the last bit of the year. I truly believe John Cena is going to turn back to babyface before he retires. There's no way that the greatest babyface that WWE has basically ever seen is going to end his career as a heel. He is going to forgive the fans, and the fans are going to forgive him. I truly believe that. And if R-Truth is that catalyst, man, it might make sense why we got the R-Truth moment there at Backlash. I mean, let's face it, who hates R-Truth, right? I mean, the IWC now does because he's been inserted into the world title picture, but like, let's be real. Who actually hates R-Truth? He's one of the funniest characters WWE has ever seen, and I think I could say this confidently that you know what? I'll say it. He's the greatest comedy character point blank in WWE history. There's nobody that has ever made me laugh harder than R-Truth. You know, Santino Marella comes to mind, but R-Truth is on another level. His segments, getting Brock Lesnar to crack, was just one of the funniest things. The lines that he's had, the "my bad," he's got arachnophobia, well, he's got a fear of heights as well. Like, he thought the Royal Rumble was a Money in the Bank ladder match. This guy has endless moments of comedy gold. So honestly, when I'm saying that out loud, he has put in years of work to WWE, and he just kind of gets rewarded with, you know, a little tip of the cap here and there. Getting a feud with John Cena in his last year in the WWE, it might more so just be a thank you to Truth than like looking for the best feud possible. I don't know if that's the right way to book John Cena's last year, but it is a feel-good moment for R-Truth. And it also goes along the idea that John Cena is going to revisit some of his greatest feuds through the years, right? We've heard rumors that he is going to go and have this feud with Randy Orton, which he did get that feud with Randy. And then there's people like Sheamus, AJ Styles, CM Punk. There's The Miz that's been thrown out there. R-Truth is another person that Cena has feuded with in the past. If that's what this retirement tour is all about, just having one last match with some of his greatest rivals, hey, like... you know, I get it. Do I love that R-Truth was involved in a main event angle right after we had Travis Scott in the main event angle of WrestleMania? No, it's back-to-back PLEs that are just kind of a meh finish in John Cena's last run, right? But if I look at this just for R-Truth, it's a cool moment for him. So rounding back to the original question, yeah, John Cena, he's eventually, I think, going to realize he is in the wrong right now, even though, again, John Cena's technically in the right because us wrestling fans are horrible to him. But he'll have his come to Jesus moment, and John Cena will be back to being Mr. Hustle, Loyalty, and Respect, even though actually he still is. Man, John Cena's not a bad guy right now. He's just an angry dad without a kid. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and say that this is a pro. People are invested in John Cena's story right there. That's a pro. I'm happy to see Jeff Cobb appear. He played a great role in New Japan Pro Wrestling, and if you've seen his finisher, the Tour of the Islands, everyone will be attracted to him. Jeff Cobb is an absolute animal. There's no question about that. And seeing him come to WWE at this point in his career is interesting. He's not the same Jeff Cobb that he used to be. I mean, he's now 42 years old, right? It's not 2015 anymore. But Jeff Cobb does have the look, he does have the demeanor, and he adds something to the new Bloodline storyline that's going on. If anything, he is a great feud for Jacob Fatu. Like, it won't take long for people to fall in love with Jeff Cobb in the same way that people immediately fell in love with Jacob Fatu. He's going to wrestle a match, he's going to do some impressive looking maneuvers, and then people are going to be fully behind him as well. It's really neat that the Bloodline story is introducing all these new characters, you know, that are on the way up the card, and the only person who has struggled to actually move up that card even more is Solo Sikoa. He's the only one who's gone up and then immediately fallen back down. Everybody else that's coming into the new Bloodline seemingly gains momentum, but Solo Sikoa just flatlines. He needs beasts beside him for people to care about the Solo Sikoa character, and Jeff Cobb immediately makes Solo Sikoa seem 10 times, 15 times, 20 times more interesting. I'd actually love to see a tag team of Solo Sikoa and Jeff Cobb go after the tag team titles. It would be different than a Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa, right? These would be more of the meaty men of the Bloodline going after the tag titles. It would be an interesting addition to the SmackDown tag division, which is already on fire. So all in all, that's a good signing for WWE. I think he immediately adds value to the Bloodline story, which was starting to get a little stale, and Jacob Fatu needs somebody to feud up against. He's going to feud with the new Bloodline. It's written on the wall at this point. There is some point it's going to happen. that Jacob Fatu splits from the new Bloodline and they just battle over that United States title. I think at SummerSlam, it's going to be Solo versus Jacob Fatu. Big pro for Jeff Cobb. I don't ever want to hear Becky Hogan again. She helped Lyra get a needed connection with the crowd and had Lyra defeat her clean. They worked well together, and it made for an amazing match. Yeah, I don't know when the whole Becky Hogan stuff began, but it's absolutely ridiculous, as is most of the stuff in the IWC where you see blank Hogan. It's people just complaining for the sake of complaining. It's like anytime somebody gets a win, they're just like, oh my God, blank Hogan is back. Like, I wonder if we need a social media license. Like, you know, you need to be 16 years old and you need to get your permit in order to drive a car. Yeah, to be able to log on and talk about pro wrestling, you must be at least 16 years old with at least a 50 IQ, okay? At least. And 50 IQ is me being very generous, okay? If you got 50 IQ, you have a moderate intellectual disability, all right? I'm not saying everybody needs to be a genius to talk about pro wrestling, but my God, you gotta be able to understand that somebody can win a match and it not be them burying the entire division. Get a brain. But no, legit, I think Becky Lynch is one of the greatest wrestlers WWE has. She has this ability to ramp her matches up every time she's in a main event spot or a PLE. Tell me if I'm telling lies. When was the last time you saw a bad main event match from Becky Lynch or a bad PLE match from Becky Lynch? I'll wait. It doesn't happen. It doesn't exist. It's not out there. You will not find a bad match. Will you find a match that maybe wasn't the most exciting? Absolutely. Every wrestler has those on their resume, but you're not going to find a bad main event match and you're not going to find a bad PLE match from Becky Lynch. You're just not. There's a reason why she's in the position that she is. There's a reason why she's trusted to go into this one-on-one feud with Lyra Valkyria, which, by the way, is awesome to see the Women's IC Championship being featured at a PLE. You got to admit, it doesn't happen without Becky Lynch being in this spot, but Lyra Valkyria absolutely stepped up to the plate and kicked it out of the park. Hit it out of the park? Come on, Con Man, get your sports references right. She knocked it out of the park. She crushed it, man. And Lyra Valkyria is slowly becoming one of the most exciting baby faces on the entire roster. People are getting behind the Bird Lady. And the fact that this didn't end in just a straight up finish, you know, this was a bit of a roll up. Becky Lynch attacked Lyra afterwards. We're not done with this feud. We have all the stuff looming with Bayley as well. So who knows? Maybe we get a triple threat out of this. Maybe Bayley isn't happy. Lyra Valkyria chose Becky Lynch as a partner after Bayley warned her about Becky Lynch, right? Like, maybe there's something to that. So this is a giant pro. This whole match right here with Becky Lynch and Lyra Valkyria, an absolute big time pro. Mark that up on the scoreboard, Editor J. Overall, I like the show. I was surprised with the respect of Gunther to Pat McAfee after their match. The only con is that they could have had a tag team title match before the main event to get the crowd even more hyped. Sounds like one pro, one con on the board right there. Let's talk about Gunther and Pat McAfee. What a war, man. Goodness me. Pat McAfee's chest was so red. And if you guys want to hear more of my thoughts on the entire show, I do have a review up on my channel right now, so be sure to go check that out. But like, in short, Pat McAfee got absolutely destroyed. Oh my God. Like, I feel bad. I actually feel bad for Pat. He stepped in there in an actual fight against Gunther. Like, how many people want to actually fight Gunther? Who in their right mind wants to take like 12 to 15 chops to the chest? Who wants to get booted in their jaw? Who wants to be power bombed and like ripcord lariat? Who wants to eat those moves that Gunther has? Okay, we heard Montez Ford saying that the gorilla stands no chance against them, or the gorilla fears them, or whatever he said. No. The gorilla fears Gunther. It takes one Gunther to destroy one gorilla. That's it. Just chops to the chest, boots to the dome. Okay, he knocks the fur off him. Just some real ring general shit. It was a wild match and people didn't love it. And it just seems to be one of those things that some people didn't love this match because it was Pat McAfee. I honestly believe the match itself was a great story. It was a guy who's not a wrestler up against one of the greatest wrestlers WWE has, and it was a fight. And Pat McAfee earned Gunther's respect. Which is also cool about Gunther because it seems like he goes to war with somebody, and once you finish the match with him in the ring, he has like this respect for you that if you get through the match against him, if you don't just like I can't say that. And the cool thing about Gunther is that he just has this respect if you survive a match with him. It's not the first time we've seen him show some respect to his opponent. We've seen him shake hands with Randy. I'm pretty sure we saw him shake hands with Sheamus. And this was just like a bow, a show of respect to Pat McAfee. So it was a cool moment. But let's talk a little bit about no tag team title match on this card. I do agree. I think that the tag team titles being on this show, whether it was the New Day or whether it was going to be the Street Profits defending against Fraxium, you know, this show could have used some tag team action. It was 4 singles matches in a row. And with the Fatal 4-Way starting things off, you didn't get any opportunity to break that up. I almost would have liked to see Lyra Valkyria and Becky Lynch start off the show and then roll into like, I don't know, another singles match and have the Fatal 4-Way right in the middle, as opposed to Dom and Penta being the match right in the middle. You know, that match could have been moved a little bit earlier, have the Fatal 4-Way to break things up and make it flow a little better. But overall, it could have used an extra match. The 5-match card was okay. It was all right. I don't think anybody hated the time. I could have used another 20 minutes on the show with one more match. And I think everybody would agree. One more match would have been cool. But we're nitpicking, right? That's all it is. It's nitpicking. We're saying we wanted more. And WWE sometimes gives us less, leaving us wanting more. And I know that I want to see what happens next on Monday Night Raw. Drew McIntyre did amazing in this match. Once again, he has proven just how much he deserves a world title run. That whole match was super fun and wacky. I really hope this year is the year of McIntyre. First and foremost, I hope Drew McIntyre is okay after that nasty bump him and Damian Priest took. Like the South of Heaven off the top of that stanchion, whatever it was, through the tables. Oh, man, nasty. Drew's head hit the concrete floor and God, I felt that all the way up here in Canada. I hope he's doing okay. But yes, Drew McIntyre is seriously criminally underrated at this point. I don't know what this guy has to do in order to get back to that world title scene, but he should be a world champion. He should be fighting after the WWE Undisputed Championship. Drew McIntyre in the mid-card, well, it elevates the mid-card. Feels so wrong. This year needs to be the year of Drew McIntyre. Throughout 2024, he was the superstar of the year. There's no question about it. This man carried the brand. He won the world title at WrestleMania only to lose it immediately, having a blood feud with CM Punk, that amazing Hell in a Cell match. Don't even forget that he won the Money in the Bank contract. Yes, he failed to cash it in, but again, it was because of CM Punk. This guy had a hell of a year in 2024, and the fact that he's taken a bit of a step back in 2025 sucks for Drew McIntyre. Like, he truly is one of the best wrestlers WWE has on their roster, and I just don't understand how we're not putting him in that world title picture. Like, it's cool that we have Jey Uso going up against Logan Paul, sure, all right? Like, we get a moment with Logan Paul and Jey Uso, and it's a first title defense for Jey Uso if he happens to defend his title. But like, if we think about it, the title picture right now should be filled with main eventers going after Jey Uso, a guy who's unproven. Somebody like Drew McIntyre, who has a history with Jey Uso, would be perfect for his first feud. But no, we're going to go in the Logan Paul route, and we're going to tease what's next with Seth Rollins. All right, fine. Regardless, Drew McIntyre crushed it in this Fatal 4-Way match, and everybody in WWE should take note, because Drew McIntyre has way more to offer than just a mid-card match. So yeah, let's put a pro up there for Drew McIntyre being amazing in that ring, but let's also put a con out there because Drew McIntyre slipped back into the mid-card. All they had to do was replicate the Dookie. All they had to do was replicate the DQ finish. It was right there. Lots of people are speculating going into Backlash that the finish of Randy Orton versus John Cena was going to be similar to how their No Way Out 2009 match went, where Randy Orton got himself intentionally disqualified. That didn't happen. And while it was a cool moment and a cool suggestion for the fans to have everything kind of be flipped with John Cena getting himself intentionally disqualified, I think a lot of people would also be screaming that that was like way too predictable. People see that coming from a mile away, and it's kind of anticlimactic to the end of the PLE. So valid, right? It wouldn't feel great with John Cena just getting himself intentionally disqualified, but because it was a callback to something else that happened in the past, I think fans would have been okay with it. Instead, we went in a different direction. I'll say this, I don't think a lot of people predicted R-Truth to be the man to cost Randy Orton the match, and if you did guess it, well then kudos to you. You certainly weren't in the majority. At least from my experience of being online, not a lot of people were predicting that, all right? If you did, Awesome. I'm very proud of you. You get a cookie. Now, what would have been really cool is if they incorporated this spot where John Cena intentionally tries to get himself disqualified by hitting the referee, and the referee saying, no, John, I'm not going to call for the bell. I'm not going to let you do that. I'm not going to let you win that way. Something like that where you get that moment in the match, but it's not the finish. And if we would have had that, that would have been a really cool addition. But hey, you can't get them all, right? So I'll go ahead and say it. This dude thinks that this finish is a con, so we'll put that up on the board. Cena Orton was a glorified finisher fest, and if every Cena match is going to end with a ref knockout, low blow, and a title hit like Cody and Orton both did, I have very low hopes for this reign. So that's a con. But you will get nothing and you will like it. I do have to agree, though. I don't love the finishes of John Cena's matches as world champion so far, all right? It is back-to-back kind of meh finishes with John Cena and Travis Scott, and then of course John Cena and Archer. Like, all this stuff going on right now isn't necessarily screaming main event angle. It certainly isn't screaming John Cena's last 24 days or whatever else he has left. But he also did say that we are going to get nothing, and that is what we are getting. We are not getting anything too crazy from John Cena. We're not getting any fancy finishes. We're not getting any outlandish storylines. We're literally getting nothing. And I know that's what the IWC is kind of bagging on right now, is that it's intentionally bad, so you just have to accept it, right? And people don't want to accept it right now. I think it will be a better storyline long term, where we finally get something paying off, you know, in 3 months' time, where John Cena starts to finally see the wrongs of his ways, be brought back to the lighter side of things. You know, there's got to be something there. I truly also believe that John Cena and CM Punk is going to be a massive match that we have coming up very, very soon. And that feud might start to get people back on board with it. It also didn't help. I know I'm rambling, but it also didn't help that we only had a few weeks build from the end of WrestleMania till Backlash. Like, there wasn't a lot of time. So as of now, let's just wait and see where it goes, because I think the R-Truth stuff will be done sooner rather than later, and then we move on to the next part, which needs to be, at least I think it needs to be, CM Punk versus John Cena. I'm truly starting to question rather some of the people that post about wrestling are actual wrestling fans. I thought the Gunther versus Pat match was exactly what it needed to be. It wasn't cringe, it made the fan in you believe. So this sounds like one pro for the Pat versus Gunther match and then a con for the IWC. So let's talk about the IWC. The thing that we all have to remember when we're looking at the internet wrestling community is that it's everybody that likes wrestling. And the thing about wrestling is it's just a bunch of people who happen to pick their favorites, and they can justify why that favorite should be booked better, should be at the top of the card, whatever it may be. It's because wrestling is subjective. Certain characters connect with different people. Not everybody is going to connect to the same person. You're going to have your favorites. You're going to have your least favorites. You're going to boo and cheer who you want. And what we're seeing is we're seeing a lot of new wrestling fans come into the IWC. People who have not watched wrestling for 10, 15, 20 years, right? People who are really, truly experiencing some of these emotions for the first time. And I love seeing that, because I know I went through that as well. I know there was a time where I truly started getting into the deep part of wrestling, right? When, you know, it wasn't just watching Raw and SmackDown, it was watching NXT, it was watching the Cruiserweight Classic. It was starting to go out of my comfort zone and watching a little, What Culture Pro Wrestling I watched, and then I ventured into a little Ring of Honor, and then back into some TNA. You know what I mean? You start to learn the wrestling world more and what it's all about, and all these different wrestlers that are out there grinding, trying to work their way to the top of the card in WWE. And once they get there, once they finally get their big moment, you want to support them, you want to root them on, you want to see all the success come their way. But it doesn't always happen like that, and it upsets people when their favorite loses. And so if you haven't sat through 15 years of pro wrestling where you see storylines happen and you see bad decisions being made and then them being rectified later, or storylines that you were super excited for that just fizzle out, it happens all the time. And having these deep emotional reactions to every single little thing that happens in pro wrestling is not healthy. And this is coming from a guy that screams at the top of his lungs anytime anything happens remotely at all in WWE, okay? Linda! Tonga Loa, I'm sorry, dude. I don't think anybody actually cares about Tonga Loa right now. Like, I don't know if that's just me, but like, who the fuck is Tonga Loa, right? Solo! No! But I've I've been through moments like Shane McMahon winning the Best in the World trophy. And at the time, I thought that was like the worst thing that could have ever happened in the history of pro wrestling. How dare Shane McMahon be labeled as the best in the world? And realizing along the way, that is exactly the reaction that WWE wanted me to have. Whether we liked it or didn't like, the reaction that I gave of fuck Shane McMahon, he shouldn't be the best in the world, is exactly what WWE wanted me to feel all those years ago. Am I going to get worked? Absolutely. Are you going to get worked? Absolutely. But also picking up our pitchforks and going to Twitter over every single little tiny thing that happens is just not it, man. It can't be healthy. Like, ask yourself the question, are you actually happy waking up every day being mad on Twitter? Like, when you log into Twitter, does it give you any sense of joy at all? Does it give you any sense of like, yes, I love what I'm seeing today? Or are you just arguing with people for 2 or 3 likes? I'm always going to say people are entitled to their opinions, but I'm also going to say people need to reel in their opinions and put away their pitchforks over every single little thing. It just needs to stop. But yeah, Gunther versus Pat was great. I loved it. It was exactly what it needed to be. All right, moving on to the next one. I was hoping for a comment like this from somebody who was actually at the show. I'm extremely biased, but this show was great. This was my first wrestling show, and I got to see my 2 favorites in John Cena and Becky Lynch wrestle, and both matches delivered. I finally achieved my dream of seeing my 2 GOATs. This is what wrestling is all about. If you ever feel like you are starting to disconnect from pro wrestling, if you're like, man, I'm not enjoying what I'm watching on TV, none of the characters are working for me, this is just not it anymore, I do recommend trying, if you can, going to a live wrestling show, whether that is AEW, whether that is WWE, whether that's TNA or a local indie promotion. Go to a wrestling show and experience what it's like to be in that crowd. You don't always get that feeling at home, and you can't really connect in the way that the wrestling is meant to make you connect unless you are there in the building. You're not hearing the commentators. The only things you are seeing and hearing is you're seeing the ring, you're hearing the noises from the ring, and you're hearing the crowd around you. And there's something so infectious of being part of those chants. Chanting on your favorites, booing your least favorites. You get wrapped up in the story. You might go in saying, this is my favorite of all time, but within 5 seconds, they have you booing them. It is a masterpiece if you get to go to a wrestling show live and see some of these great wrestlers, pro wrestlers, do what they do best. Put on a show for you. Go to a wrestling show. Please try it out. If you're starting to disconnect, go to a wrestling show. That's a pro. But there you have it. Those are your pros and cons. Let me know any other thoughts you have down in the comments section below, as I'm always eager to read your comments. And if you're looking for that top moves from Jeff Cobb, it will be posted later today as well. So make sure you keep your eyes open on the channel for that. But as always, make sure you leave a like on this video. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Turn on those notifications and keep coming back every single day, because yes, finally, we're back again, uploading wrestling videos every single day. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed Backlash.